Hi everyone, Pam Gregory, astrologer. I'm going to be speaking to you today about the second half of August and the full moon that we have coming up in Aquarius on the 22nd. Now, as I said in the last video, this is such a powerful month. It has very strong Uranian and Aquarian energy ongoing. In fact, it builds in this second half. And Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius, so their symbolism is very, very similar. So just as backdrop, we have several outer planets moving retrograde now. We have Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Pluto, and Uranus is going to join the party very soon, as you will hear. So all that retrogradation of those outer planets is really making us digest and integrate and go back over what the earlier months in this year have actually meant to us as individuals and collectives. So we'll be sifting through that and coming to our own conclusions. Jupiter, I believe, particularly moving back through Aquarius and Saturn to some extent too. But Jupiter, I believe, is very much going to be focused on the science. I said that in August, I thought there'd be a great deal of discussion about the science, and there is. I'm certainly hearing it. So whether that is to correct or perfect or change direction on the science, that's going to be for us to see. But that's going to be a very interesting part of that retrogradation. So then on the 20th of August, Uranus also moves stationary retrograde. Now, Uranus is incredibly slow right now. It is drilling down the whole month on 14 degrees of Taurus. And it finally comes to that stationary retrograde point on the 20th at 14 degrees, 47 minutes of Taurus. So see where that falls in your chart, particularly the Taurus area is an area where you are going to feel you need change. You feel very restless, you want more freedom. Uranus in Taurus is about shaking up the old, shaking up the stale, shaking up what no longer works. So whether that is a relationship which has become deadening, is it in your relationship house, is it your work which feels deadening, is it some other area of life which has just become routine and predictable and stale? So see where Taurus falls, particularly the midpoint of Taurus, 14, 15 degrees. Also, if you have any planets or angles at 14, 15 degrees of the fixed signs, those are not only Taurus, but Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, you could be feeling these stirrings. You know, I want more freedom, I want more space, I want more individual self-expression. That's how Uranus works. And we are moving into an even more, dare I say it, intense phase in these next few months. And I'm afraid I'm going to be using the word intensity a lot because it is at the 3D level. That really is how it is. So with this Uranus station, a week to either side of the 20th, we are going to feel more Uranian energy. So you could probably do this part of the video yourself because I've talked so much about Uranus. I'm going to keep on talking about Uranus because it's in this very strong square to Saturn all year and actually next year, but not quite as tightly. I'll come on to that. So this is about earthquakes of all kinds, shocks, surprises, truths, disclosures, internet cutouts, cyber attacks, power cutouts, that kind of thing. I think this is a very strong period where that may happen, to be honest. It is also the planet of awakening. A lot more people are waking up and having a totally different perspective with those retrograde planets on what's happening. And it's also, don't forget, the planet of revolution. It's very similar to Eris, people taking to the streets, demanding more equality, demanding that everyone is heard. So it's a very sudden, eruptive energy, whether it's behavioral, whether it's physical with the earth, whether it's out there on the political arena. It's this very strong sense of shock, truth, eruption. It's also very connected to the galactics. More and more, we are stepping into becoming galactic citizens. I was just talking to a client only yesterday who's starting to channel the galactics, another person. I know more and more people who are doing this. The veil is becoming thinner. And this is really the work of Uranus and Aquarius being so strong right now. So, this station of Uranus happens just before 2 days before the full moon in Aquarius. And remember that Uranus rules Aquarius. So this is happening on the 22nd of August. It's happening at 5:01 a.m. Pacific and 12:01 p.m. UK time. So, and this is at 29 degrees and 36 minutes of Aquarius. Now, at the end of July, 26th of July, I think it was, we had another full moon in Aquarius at 1 degree. Now we've got it at 29 degrees, 29:36 of Aquarius. Very unusual, actually, to have 2 full moons within a month in the same sign. So again, it's emphasizing this Aquarian energy. So see where that falls in your chart. 29:36. As always, full moons bring things to culmination, to closure, to completion. They very often shine a light on what we haven't known before, some truths. And Aquarius is the sign of truth. It's the sign of truth. It's the sign of freedom. It's the sign linked to human rights, all of those things. However, it is at what is known as the anaretic degree. Now, the anaretic degree of any sign is between 29 degrees and 29:59 minutes of the sign. It's the very last degree of any sign. And normally, the way that expresses is the less positive aspects of the sign. It's the kind of shadow side of the sign, if you like. So again, we could be seeing, in terms of the shadow side, perhaps a cold, detached, invisible technology. That's very Aquarian. You know, it's not very human in that way. But at this full moon, the moon is opposing the sun in Leo. This is about warmth and joy of living, love, heart energy, passion, creativity. Leo people are just bursting with all of that vibrancy and shining their light in the world. So this is our very human side demanding balance in this. So Aquarian energy, again, around freedom, human rights, truths, new technology of all kinds, connectivity, which is fantastic with the internet, of course, and digitization of all kinds. I'm sure you're aware of that too. So that I have a sense that this is a very big time, this second half of August, particularly around the station of Uranus and the full moon, because it is so dislocating, disruptive energetically. So there could be some major internet, power, cyber cutout attack, that kind of thing. So just be aware of that. And astrology is wonderful at giving us perspective, because if we know what's coming, even if it may feel challenging on the 3D level, we can kind of think, okay, that was meant to be happening, because all of this, all that I'm talking about over these months, and it's very much the symbolism of Uranus, is breaking down to break through. Breaking down to break through. Uranus always wants us to take us to a higher state of being. That's its purpose, even though it's chaotic and messy on the way. And again, similar to Eris. So don't fret if this is happening. This will be affecting many, many systems. And I've said, you know, I believe educational system, legal system, financial system, political system, medical system, the whole lot, and perhaps other systems are not going to continue as they are. They're going to be radical changes in those as we move through these coming months. I think this is an incredibly concentrated, extreme few months that we're going through at the 3D level. Just keep remembering that. Now, in terms of these disruptions and dislocations, I've mentioned before that the very fact Uranus is in Taurus until 2026, and Taurus represents our food supplies, our agriculture, that there could be dislocations in the food supply system. Indeed, at this full moon, we've got the Sun and Moon square to Ceres. It's an out of sign square. Ceres is at 5 degrees of Gemini. Ceres is to do with our agriculture, our grains, our harvests, that kind of thing. And you will be well aware, I'm sure, of disruptions in the food supply, whether it's being caused by extreme weather events, again, that's Uranus in Taurus, whether it's the terrible fires we've had recently in Turkey, Greece, California, whether it's the droughts in some parts of the US, whether it's the massive flooding we've had in Europe recently, or even in the UK, apparently we're short of 100,000 lorry drivers. So the food may be there, but can't get to the supermarkets because there aren't enough drivers. And also in the UK, and it may be true of other countries too, there's a sort of track and trace system. So if you've been close proximity to somebody who's tested positive for the virus, you'll be pinged and then you have to quarantine for 10 to 14 days, which is creating short staffing of shelf stackers in supermarkets, etc., etc. So there are many kind of breaks in the chain at the moment. So just be aware of that and plan accordingly, and be as self-sufficient as you can and link with local communities, neighbours, farmers. We are going to be moving into a future which is local, which is grassroots up, not top down, not big Capricorn type corporations and institutions. The whole process of Pluto moving through these last few degrees of Capricorn is, if there is any corruption or lack of transparency or accountability, Pluto will unearth it. And Pluto continues to grind through for the next 2 to 3 years. But the intense phase, I believe, is really now. Another lovely aspect at this full moon is the fact that we have a Jupiter-Moon conjunction. Jupiter is almost at 27 degrees of Aquarius, conjunct the moon at 29:36. And this is lovely because in Aquarius, this is the sign of community as well and collaboration. So Jupiter conjunct the moon will give us more opportunities to come together with like-minded people, whether it's online or physically, to form communities. This is happening all over the world. So really use this as an opportunity. In fact, if you're linking together with other people like this, you may find that there's a sudden surge in the development of that community round about this time. So this is very, very positive, very expansive. The other aspect of Jupiter, which I think is very interesting, is to do with justice, because in its rulership of Sagittarius, it's to do with the law. So it's connected to justice, and conjunct the moon, which is the people. I'm just wondering whether there's something around the justice of the people, perhaps the common law, which is going to come to the fore in a greater way. Jupiter is moving retrograde, so it may unearth some kind of injustice, perhaps, that's happened in the world. And as I say, this could be really on a public stage. What's very interesting, I'm going to come back to the justice theme in just a moment, but just to say another important aspect of this full moon is Mercury and Mars are in Virgo, square to Black Moon Lilith in Gemini. Now, Gemini is about information, communication. Black Moon Lilith creates a kind of murky undercurrent in how clearly communication and information is working. It's kind of another narrative, let's say. And actually, even Saturn in Aquarius, Saturn is controlling, perhaps, or suppressing Aquarius, which is about freedom of everything, freedom of speech. But Gemini in particular is around speech, social media, etc. So Black Moon Lilith creates this kind of unspoken undercurrent of a different narrative, perhaps around truth. The square from Mars and Mercury in Virgo. Virgo is about our precision, our discernment, our discrimination, being very sharp, being able to perceive things that don't quite look clear, don't quite hang together. So there are issues here around the truth. So we're back into all of this, is it true, is it not? What's true, what's not? And that's really reinforced. If we look at the US chart, if we take what's known as the Sibley chart, which is set for 4th of July, 1776, 10 past 5 in the afternoon, Philadelphia. Neptune there is at 22 of Virgo in the 9th house of that chart. Transiting Neptune is currently at 22 of Pisces in the 3rd house, so directly opposing that natal Neptune. So this is smoke and mirrors. This is very murky. And in Pisces, it can be around drugs and medicines and that kind of thing. That opposition is straddling the 3rd and 9th houses of that chart. Those are the communication houses. The 9th house is also legalities, but it's essentially dissemination of information. It's the media. So this is very, very interesting, because whatever happens in the US chart, I believe, has a global domino effect for us, because everything's connected. Just to say as well, actually, looking at that US chart, many of you may be aware that we are coming back to the USA Pluto return, and that is that transiting Pluto is coming back to its so-called natal place, where it was for the first time since 1776. That is already on track. It becomes exact in February. We're going to feel it all through next year. Pluto is in the 2nd house of the economy of the country, how the economy works. And again, that's going to have global ramifications. So it's going to be very interesting to see in these coming months how enormously the whole financial system is going to change, because I believe it is. Uranus is in Taurus, money, finance, banking. Uranus is revolutionary. Pluto in Capricorn is very linked to banking and wealth and that whole corporate structure, but it's in the 2nd house of the US economy. So through these coming months, I think we're going to see massive change around the world, not only in the US, but in the global economy too. And that is meant to be because our values are changing so radically as well. I could talk for a long time about that. Coming back to this Mars and Mercury in Virgo, I just want to say as well that this can really help with some healing solutions to what we're experiencing right now that are very often natural. Virgo is to do with the ancient wisdom of the earth, the medicine that the earth provides via its plants, its herbs, etc. So we may see more of that coming to the fore too. Remember, wherever Mars is moving through your chart, that will energize that house in your chart as well. So it's sort of mid Virgo right now. So you start to see a lot of action happening in that particular house in your chart. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can download a birth chart from my website. You can go to the link I've put in the description below, and that can take you to my store by a 2-part video series, which you can watch forever for every update I ever do, that will help you understand what the meaning is for you. So let's come back to justice, because the other very important thing that's happening this 2nd half of August, we haven't just got Uranus going stationary retrograde on the 20th. We haven't just got this very important full moon, 2nd full moon in Aquarius on the 22nd. On the 27th, we have the 4th of 5 exact squares between Eris in Aries and Pluto in Capricorn, 24 degrees for each. I've talked a great deal about Eris recently. The 5th and final exact square is in October. Now, Eris continues in a square to Pluto until really 2023, until Pluto starts to move out of Capricorn into Aquarius. But this is October will be the last exact square. Equally, with Saturn-Uranus square, Saturn-Uranus square is very briefly about the old versus the new, control versus freedom. We have the final 3rd square of that aspect on the 24th of December. So this kind of exactitude of these 2 massive squares that have dominated this year, this is kind of like a vice. And that's why I think we will see a lot more social unrest in this 2nd half of August. And remember that Eris, in terms of justice, is about, she wants justice for ill deeds. She wants to see justice for any ill deeds, particularly connecting to all of that Capricorn energy, that top-down structure, and everything that falls under that. So she wants everyone to be heard. She wants everyone to have a voice. Equality in society. So does Uranus. Very similar. So they want a sort of equal footing for every single person. No discrimination, no sidelining, none of that. Everybody deserves to have a voice, to allow them to raise to a higher level of being. They're not being squished or marginalized in society. Remember, she's the patron of chaotic creation. I love that. Out of chaos is going to come our creation, and that is absolutely what is happening right now. So a whole heap of stuff I expect in 3D and ongoing in the next few months. There will be lots of drama, lots of colour, lots of stuff to watch on the nightly news if you want to do that. But if you do that, there's always a sense of contraction and limited possibility. Whereas actually what's happening with these huge surges of energy we've had, particularly recently with that new moon in Leo, and ongoing, I think we're going to have another huge surge of energy at the winter solstice this year, we are expanding our possibilities. Our timelines were always manifold. They are even more multiple, even more infinite, you might say, than they ever were before, because so many of us are just jumping in our frequency. We're becoming galactic citizens with all of this Uranian and Aquarian energy. And what you may find now, because these jumps in energy are so strong, that you are really, in your own life, but also I'm seeing in people around me, I've heard of several people in the last week who literally in the last couple of weeks, every single aspect of their life has changed. Everything. Their marriage, their job, their home, their country, the whole lot. Boom. And they're off to a different location to start absolutely from new, from zero, all over again, and remake themselves to a new them, a new you. So you may find in your own life that there are rapid and radical shifts happening in your life. Particularly if you can plan those, it's more comfortable than them hitting you from the outside. But because of this strong Uranus energy and the music has to play, we either choose to make those changes or they come at us. We're in a deadening job. We don't move out of it and then we get fired. It's that kind of thing because the music has to play. So really say to yourself in this time when we're really, really leaving the old earth and the old 3D behind, which aspects of your life are limiting? Is it the deadening job? Is it the controlling relationship? Is it your own sense of control or attachment behaviorally? Are you attached to a certain level of income or a certain routine? Because all of that is very likely to change, because it can't continue as it has been with the new energy, because every cell is being upgraded and changing. So be aware of what's happening in the world. That's fine, but do it with neutrality. Don't enter into any negative emotion or fear and anxiety. Yes, I know many people are stepping into that Uranian and Eris archetype, and that for many people is their role. But stay out of negative emotion. If they're doing that with emotional conviction, I think that has a place in society. But stay out of fear, stay out of anxiety, because it just feeds the old. We don't want to do that. So really give your unlimited focus, your relentless focus to what you want to create. And it may just be a feeling. Is it freedom that you want more? Imagine you're a condor soaring over the Andes. Do that repeatedly through your day, through your meditation. Is it loving connection with like-minded people? Send out love to everybody you meet, because that will come back to you. Whatever it is, even if it isn't a structure or a form, if it's just a feeling, live out those feelings so you attract it back to you. But the more we can do that in a group, I mean, this is wonderful work of Lynn McTaggart. Look at her work on the power of 8 and how if we get into groups together and even 8 people, it magnifies the effect of the manifesting energy. We are becoming much more powerful and magical manifestors because of these shifts in energy. So if you get together with like-minded people, you can really start to magnetize the new earth and all that that means. Loving respect for all beings, love for animals, abundance in nature, enough for all, freedom, self-regulating communities. I mean, just there's so much to come, and our abilities are going to become much more telepathic, much more compassionate, much more healing. So it is a very challenging few months at the 3D level, absolutely. And if that's your focus, it's going to be quite a rough ride. But we are all living on the earth, but you don't have to be off the earth. You can observe what's happening. So, yep, astrology tells me that's meant to be happening. However, I choose to live at this higher frequency because that's what I'm pulling in to my new earth and my future. I hope that's helped you, and really be strong, sovereign. The sun is still in Leo, that sense of center, anchor, heart. I know my vision and where I'm going. So if you'd like more information about my books, my teaching videos, just check out my website, pamgregory.com. I'm changing quite a lot about how I'm working right now. I won't go into all of that, but it's to kind of free up a lot of the admin and just give me some space and time to do what I'm suggesting that you do too. So I hope that's been helpful for you, and have a wonderful full moon in Aquarius. It's going to be quite lively. Bye for now.